Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October 2020 edition of Let's Talk Sullivan. My name is Michael Brooks, the Vice Chairman of the Sullivan County Legislature, and with me is Robert Doherty, the Chairman of the Sullivan County Legislature. Our guests today are our County Clerk, Russell Reeves, and our County Manager, Joshua Potosek. We're going to start today with our County Clerk, Russell Reeves. He's going to give us an overview of his office, some of the things that have been going on, some of the challenges that this year has brought to his departments. So Russell, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. As Mike said, I'm Russell Reeves. I'm your county clerk. I'm going to give you an update today about what's been going on in my office. There's been a lot. It's a very busy office. We've been extremely busy with deeds and mortgages in our office. We've had some record days. We brought in $113,000 in just one day a couple of weeks ago. We've been seeing a large uptick in mortgages and land sales, which is a good thing, I feel, for our county. It shows an influx of money, and our staff has been dealing with that. Our office, both offices, are open by appointment only. There is no wait to make for an appointment in the main unit. You just call up, give your name and number, you can make an appointment, you can get in, record your deed, search your properties. We've also, during COVID, have streamlined pistol permit amendments.
Thank God, 'cause we need one.
So right now, with the amendments, you no longer have to come in person, which we've done, which is working out very well. The wait times are much better. You can do it all by mail. It's a process that you can go right to my site. You can download the forms that are appropriate, and you can do it all by mail. That's something that's been very successful. You can still go in and get your pistol permit in the normal way. November 3rd is going to be the extension for default judgments has ended. We're going to see a large uptick in default judgments coming into our office. That's going to increase our civil department quite a bit. I'd also like to touch on DMV. DMV is extremely busy. We have 2,378 appointments for the month of October. It's a tremendous number. Our staff is doing a fantastic job dealing with these crushing numbers. We're also fielding 300 to 500 calls a day, plus doing mail-in work, and it is just a very busy place. That is by appointments only. We also have a way now that you can drop off your license plates. They're 5-minute appointments, so there is no wait time. You can make an appointment, and the next day you'll be able to come in, 5-minute appointment, drop your plates off. That's only for the license plates. What we have now is a calendar. You go online. It tells you the type of transaction that you have to do. You make your appointment. We have designed it. General information is given. So when you make your appointment, please read. It'll tell you your basic information of what you need to bring with you. And that is working well, so to speak, as far as keeping things moving without having a large crowd in our lobby. During the COVID, we are taking that very seriously. We have all the proper things we need in the office, social distancing and protective gear, plexiglass, etc. When you're making these appointments, we spent quite a bit of time working on how to streamline it. We are continuously evolving with that. The drop boxes that we have, initially the drop boxes were put in place when COVID came and DMV was shut down completely. We put in drop boxes. We were one of the first in the state to put those in so that people could still do transactions. We were able to have our essential services and people return their plates at that time.
Take a breath, Russell. Jesus.
That was phase 1. Phase 2, we took our drop boxes, and in phase 2, they were just renewals for licenses and for registrations. We have now are in phase 3, and we have now eliminated the drop boxes. Everything is by appointment only. One of the things that's going to be happening, November 3rd, it looks like the governor will not be extending all extensions for all transactions. So as of November 3rd, the way it's looking now is registrations will not be extended, the non-driver ID will not be extended, and we will have to have those renewed by November 3rd. So in order to deal with this, what we expect a large amount of people need to get this done, we will be dedicating one day a week to handle this influx of transactions we are expecting, and we also will be doing extended hours to help people to deal with this new deadline that is looming on November 3rd. We are waiting for the governor to say what else he may or may not be extending, but right now registrations, non-driver IDs are not going to be extended. Pretty much, we appreciate your patience. It's a very busy office. We are doing our best with the resources we have available. We are sorry for the long wait times, but it is something that the state is dealing statewide, and we appreciate your patience very much. Thank you.
Russell, do we have any idea on November 3rd, the number potentially that could be coming in, where their licenses and registrations have been extended, and do we have an idea roughly of how many people that might be?
We do not have a number. We do not know how many people will be coming in. We've been making appointments right along for people to renew their registrations and their licenses as best we can, but we don't have a number on it. So we're preparing the best we can to handle the influx of people who we expect to come. So when that is released, we will be able to get as many people as we can through.
So this has actually been since, was it March to currently that have been potentially that have or just been have had their either registration or license extended. So that's most of the year in essence.
Right. What happened was the inspections were extended, and registrations and licenses were all extended due to COVID. So that is now, the inspections are going to be also no longer extended. So the local repair shops also will be expecting probably an influx of people getting their cars inspected.
So the extended hours, do you know currently what those hours would be?
Our normal hours are 9 to 5. We're going to be opening up at 8 o'clock. That will be on our website, what days those will be. It won't be every day, but it will be in the next couple of weeks leading up to this deadline as we see needed. So you can go online, check your computers, and that will be posted on our website.
Okay. Last thing, you have a new service that you're going to be providing. Your office will be providing fingerprint processing.
Yes, that's something, that we're excited about. There's nowhere in Sullivan County to have your fingerprints taken. So if you have a job with the school or with the government or private industry, there's no place in Sullivan County to have your fingerprints taken. So we felt that our county residents shouldn't have to leave our county to have their fingerprints taken. So we are now working with a company, and we are moving forward. Thanks to working with the legislators, I'd like to give them kudos because they also see the need for this, and it will be a place to come in and get your fingerprints. That's a new service that the county clerk's office will be giving to the public.
And when will that start?
We are working right now on, there's a lot to it. We have a lot of regulations and training that we have to go through. We're hoping in the next, within the next 3 or 4 weeks, we should have that in place.
Russell, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I know it's been a tough year for you and your departments, but thank you as well as all the departments in the county, actually. It's been a tough year, and we've had to sacrifice along the way, and thank you for that.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, our next guest is Joshua Potosek, our county manager. Josh is here with us today to speak to budget presentations and go through the steps that he does every year in preparing the budget. But before we get to that, if you could speak to Move Sullivan and some of the updates on Move Sullivan.
Sure, thanks, Mike. Move Sullivan's been a great success. We saw some numbers dip through COVID, but we're back up over 600 riderships per week, so it's kind of gotten back to where we were pre-pandemic. The legislature has been fully supportive, obviously, with Move Sullivan, providing some significant dollars to make that happen. What we're looking at currently, effective November 2nd, we'll be putting in a long talked about fare box, $2 per ride or 3 for $5. We're applying to become a Medicaid transportation vendor. to help have some cheaper Medicaid transportation in the county. And then most excitingly, I think we're looking at redoing the current routes. We're going to have an extension down Route 42 in Monticello past the high school, hitting some of our housing developments. We're venturing into Woodridge and going into upper Main Street in Liberty. So we're hitting a lot more housing developments where people live. We're also going to be having a stop at Crystal Run. So there's a lot of exciting things, I think, on the horizon for Move Sullivan, and hopefully that's just the beginning on November 2nd, and hopefully into the new year as we see how that goes, there can even be more improvements in the future.
Thank you, Josh. And now, could you just go over what you go through every budget season in preparing the budget for Sullivan County and to present to the legislators?
Yeah, great. The budget process is a very lengthy process with it's seriously in upwards of 1,000 hours of manpower between department heads and fiscal people and budget office and treasurer's office. So it's a very lengthy process that at the end of the day, the residents want to hear what are my taxes going at by. But it takes a lot to get to that position. So we literally start in the end of spring formulating budget instructions to the department heads. This year, just with what was going on, we asked them where at all possible to keep everything at least flat from the 2020 budget. The vast majority of departments were able to do that, not easily, but that certainly helped in formulating the 2021 budget. So they submit sometime in the middle of summer. We get all their requests, do a lot of proofing and making sure figures are accurate, and then start meeting with the various department heads, typically after Labor Day and into early October. Statutorily, the tentative budget in Sullivan can be filed up to November 15th. I'm going to have the budget filed this Friday, the October 30th. Will be on our website and hard copies in the legislative offices for public consumption. The legislature, I give a lot of credit to them making a lot of difficult decisions this year, shortly after COVID, realizing that we could have some pretty significant budget issues, not knowing where sales tax would head, the threat of upwards of 20% or more state aid cuts to our budget. So they took a lot of made a lot of difficult decisions through late spring and into the summer. Reorganizations, a difficult decision to put into place some furloughs. Obviously, the nursing home and child discussion has been taking place. Kind of set us up into a lot better place where we aren't talking about draconian tax increases for next year.
Josh, I got a couple questions for you. First, how's it looking to stay under the tax cap? And second, part of the challenge this year has been trying to get some clarity from the state aid, etc. So the other question is there any more clarity, or is that still a challenge?
In terms of, let's start with some of the revenue issues that we've talked about since the COVID pandemic happened. Obviously, state aid and sales tax were the big unknowns on what was going to happen. Fortunately for us, some of the dire predictions on sales tax have not come to fruition. We are trending virtually flat from last year. While that sounds great news, that still means we're about $2 million down from what we had adopted in the 2020 budget. So while I think the headline is we're flat, we actually had anticipated some growth, which we've all fully expected was going to happen, and we were upwards of 9% in the first quarter before the pandemic hit. So that's kind of gotten clearer a little bit. Obviously, and I'll get into a little bit of some mitigation factors that are in the potential budget on how to address potential second waves and more lockdowns that we hope don't come. So other than a second wave, we think sales tax is probably going to trend to where we ended up in 2019. State aid is still a huge unknown. Obviously, the state budget relies a lot upon sales tax, but also just general business activity in New York City. They've taken a lot bigger hit than a lot of our upstate counties have, so they're having a huge direct impact on the state budget. And we've all heard the governor pleading for federal aid to help offset some of the potential cuts that they would have to enact, both at a state level, but he has talked about 20% state aid cuts to local governments. And so what does that mean for Sullivan County? We had budget about $26 million of state aid, so do the math, that's over $5 million of potential state aid cuts to the county budget. We're getting indications that they don't want to do that and being advised not to count on state aid cuts. So I'm formulating the budget that the state aid will not get cut, but what we've done and what you'll see on Friday in the budget is we've built in some contingencies that if that does come, there'll be some easier ways to kind of mitigate cuts. It won't be the whole $5 million, but there'll be several $1 million of contingent money that the legislature could use to offset either sales tax reductions or state aid cuts if they came to fruition.
Thanks, Josh. And with that being said, how are things looking to not exceed the tax cap this year?
Yeah, so I think as a struggle as it's been, I think the tentative budget will be under the tax cap, pretty much at the tax cap number. Couple that with there'll be a pretty substantial reduction in the solid waste fee that we call it, access fee. I think the residential rate is going to go from $80 to $50 per year, and the commercial rate will go from $200 to $125. So I think when you're looking at about a little over a 2% tax rate increase is what we can raise under the cap, coupled with a $30 reduction on the residential side, I think a lot of our residents won't see any increase on what they're paying on their tax bill come next year. So I think that's the good news. I mean, we still need to be cautious and brace for what could happen with the state potential budget. Not even if they don't cut this year, they need to adopt a new budget come April 1st of next year that could affect our budget next year. So I think we still need to be very cautious on where we're headed. But I think it's a lot better than what we were predicting back in the summer. And just comment on, I think a lot of this too is with the cap, this assumes that the management takeover, management operations of the nursing home. If that weren't to happen and the legislature hadn't made those difficult decisions, we probably would be staring at a double-digit property tax rate increase. So I think when we speak of what the legislature has already done, I think it got us to an easier point today than it would have been if a lot of those decisions hadn't taken place.
And along the budget lines, Rob, why don't you just talk a little bit about the plans this coming month in November as far as the budget goes with the legislators?
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate the question. We're going to be having budgetary meetings for the first time in the last couple of years. The first 3 Thursdays of November, and we're going to try to go through each department in the county so that we can really, hone down on, tightening our belts and, keeping our county in a greater fiscal state, because we don't know if there's going to be, a reoccurrence of the pandemic. We don't know if it's going to come back, and so we just want to be prepared, financially to be able to withstand anything that happens to us. And as Josh mentioned, we're not sure of what's going to happen with the state budget in April. So we're just trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible.
And Rob, could you please explain the tipping fee increase that was discussed earlier this month?
Sure thing, Mike. So it's in 2 different categories. One is on tonnage. We're looking to go from which would affect mostly contractors. It's going from $100 to $110. And again, this is only what's being proposed. And then on a 30-gallon bag, we're looking to go from $2 to $3, which would mitigate our costs on the transfer stations.
All right, thank you, Rob. Next, could you discuss, Rob, a little bit about in broad terms, the Sullivan County Business Association and our oversight and the issue in front of us right now?
As far as the SCVA goes, we passed a resolution today that's going to start help us negotiate with them so that we can add a little bit more oversight to the SCVA, so that the legislature has a little bit more control over the taxpayers' dollars that go to them. And the main reason for that is because we are the steward of the taxpayers' money, and we want to, especially in these tough times, make sure that every one of their hard-earned tax dollars is being utilized to its fullest.
Well, thank you, Rob. And
Hey, no problem, Mike.
we look forward to working with the Visitors Association, and working through the issues that we need to talk about and discuss. And I feel confident. We got good people on both sides talking that when we come through this, we'll both be in a much better position. Rob, would you like to say a few words about the LDC for the county's wireless broadband initiative that is being undertaken currently?
I'd love to, Mike. As you know, it's my number one initiative as chairman of the Sullivan County Legislature. And I just want to congratulate you on the board that you put together. I think it's a fabulous board. It really, reaches across the broad spectrum of the talented people that we have in this county. And I think that we're going to be able to really move broadband forward very quickly. And I just want to congratulate you again on the great job you did on putting that fantastic board together.
Thank you, Rob. And I'm looking forward to working with my fellow members of the LDC, because this is a very exciting project that the county is undertaking. I don't know of any other project like this in the state on this scale that's been undertaken. But in a nutshell, we have the technology and basically tired of waiting. There's a need for broadband access, a huge need. We have some geographic obstacles that make it difficult. But I think at its inception, with our county's CIO, Lorne Green, and Josh, when it was presented to him, the idea of doing this, it's a testament to their vision, because in a nutshell, tired of waiting of all the different grants and the funding, and there's going to be a bill out here, bill out there, whether the state was involved, the feds, and it hasn't been effective. We know it, we feel it. I get the calls from people who are frustrated that they do not have broadband. So much hinges on this in today's world. It is the modern day infrastructure. It's the most important infrastructure, probably outside of electric. But the education, we have somebody there that represents education on the board. We have somebody from healthcare, and just a cross section of folks and their experiences. I truly am excited to work with this group of folks to have to bring the county to a place with broadband access that is needed to move this county forward. And it's a very exciting time, and I can't overstate the scale of this project, but how important it is to Sullivan County going forward. Okay, and that is pretty much the subjects for this month's Let's Talk Sullivan. But we're in a very important time of the year, the election time. And it's a time when there are an awful lot of folks that participate, our poll sitters, Board of Elections, all across this county, people that take the time out, often for very little money or none at all, to ensure that the elections are fair and that basically that they go off without a hitch. And they probably don't hear it often enough, but thank you for participating in this very important, very important thing we do. It's what makes this country different from others, and we always need to remember that and have some respect, and I think we all do, for the people who do put the time in. And so thank you very much. And it's also flu season. Just want to remind everybody that get your flu shot if you haven't already. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this October 2020 edition of Let's Talk Sullivan. Next month, we look forward to presenting you what's been going on with the legislature and updating you on our budget process and a few other things that will inevitably come our way. Thanks once again for watching. Until then,